So just another quick update to show you what I've been up to over the last couple of weeks. First of all, we've got this new archway here, so this is for the door. As I showed before, I kind of explained how the components that I was showing are actually building blocks to create the cells later on. What I've done with the walls is now the walls are thinner. This is specifically for this doorway, because the doorway, we don't want this real long stone section here because it looks really strange. So I've thinned them out. And we've also created this like backing for them. So with this archway, we have a doorway. So we've got an actual door that goes in here. The detail doesn't matter too much because the game's going to be kind of zoomed out about this much. So I haven't gone like too crazy on making everything look realistic, as well as there's kind of like an art style I'm trying to go for where we've got a painterly looking environment, so you can see with the stones they're kind of painterly, and the characters are cel shaded, so it all makes sense for it to not be hyper realistic. So with this wall itself, if I apply an array modifier, we can see how it tiles kind of seamlessly. So these pillars originally were a full size pillar, and I've cut them up, and I used the bisect tool. So if I were to just quickly give an example of this, so if I select everything in edge mode and I select bisect from the right click menu, I can draw this line. And this is like a projection. It kind of projects into all the way through the mesh. So you can see this line as we move this backwards and forwards. So that's what I use to cut the pillars. And by doing it this way, we maintain the normals. So the normals are how these faces look different to these based on the lighting. There's kind of like a hard edge here as a result. This one kind of has a bit of a gradient because the stone kind of curves around here. If I hadn't have bisected it and locked in the normals the way I did, there would actually be a visible seam down the center here. See this line here? There would be a visible seam here. So by doing it this way, we've kind of eliminated that factor. This backing wall here as well for where the archway is the existing wall from before. So if I were to turn this off and turn this off, turn this one on, and this is the original wall. So I basically cut a big section out of this for the doorway. Again, this tiles seamlessly, can tile it just like that. So this here is more of a finalized wall asset, like a cell. So a cell will consist of usually a floor segment and a wall, or multiple walls. In the case of this one that we've got here, so this is a different shaped pillar here, and we've got two walls that go with it. So this is for the corner of rooms. There's going to be a lot more of these that I've got to create. It's time consuming to set these up because I have to create these planes at the side. The actual pillar here took a little while to work it out because if you push it too far in, like these pillars here, it looks a bit strange. So as a quick example, if I were to go into face mode and select all of these here and hide them. So this is how it would look in game. So the character would be running around in this area, and we've got this kind of flat plane area here. And this will tile across, and this will just indicate that there's a wall here, but would allow us to have full visibility. Whereas these walls will be full. So they'll just tile all the way up here, and this will tile all the way across here. So you can imagine it like you're looking this way, and then if this wall is this way, then it would look like this instead. So outside of walls, what I've also introduced is a table. So I'm going to obviously be introducing a lot more furniture as I go forward. Furniture seems to take a lot less time than walls because you don't have to worry about things tiling together and all that kind of complication. This took me a couple of days. The texture was fairly straightforward. It was just the same as the wooden door texture. So I used a similar technique to what I did with the wood door. So this is kind of a texture that I made myself. It was just a bunch of scribbles of different colors, and then I stretched them out and I changed the orientation based on the UV maps. So creating the UV maps and the textures are the things that really take the longest with this kind of stuff. So the mesh is basically just these squares, and I've just used the bevel tool again to kind of cut these edges out so you get a bit of a warped looking wooden shape. It's the same with the door. Does exactly the same as that. They're fairly simple, low poly models, but they kind of do the job. With the textures on them, you don't really notice that they're low poly too much, which is, you know, perfect. I don't think there's much else to really talk about, so If you like what you see and you like the progress I'm making, then head over to the Patreon if you want to support the project, or leave a like, comment, all that kind of stuff on this video. Once again, thanks to all the patrons for supporting me. I've started putting these videos on here early, so if you're a Patreon user, make sure to check the Patreon a little bit more often, because I'm going to be putting videos up. I'm going to try and do it every month, but I'm not going to make any promises there. If you missed the last update, then there'll be a link on the screen right now, so click on that. And, well, if you want to do none of that, would you kindly bugger off?
Maybe.